My name is Davor, and I'm going to be showing you some science experiments to do with electrostatics that you can show kids or anyone that you want. Have you ever wondered why when you take your sweater off in winter it makes those crackling noises? Maybe you've heard of the words static electricity. Today we're going to be exploring that and a lot more using all of these objects that you see in front of you. We've got some different rods, plastic, resin, glass. We've got a lot of different types of materials. We've got some tape, can, balloons. So as you might or might not know, everything around us is made up of little particles. And some of these particles can be positively charged, and we call those protons, and others are negatively charged, and we call those electrons. And protons are usually big and heavy and they can't move around, and electrons are much, much smaller and they move around a lot. So when I rub two things together, like this wool and this plastic rod, the electrons can move from one material to the other. In this case, they move from the wool to the rod. So let's see what happens when I put this rod against these styrofoam balls. So do you see what happened? The two balls seem to be pushing each other away. They're repelling each other. And this is because they both have the same type of charge. They're both negatively charged. And that's because the rod that we rubbed got all the electrons from the wool and had extra electrons and became negatively charged. And when I pressed it against the balls, they both got more electrons. And if you can see, when I put the rod close to the balls, they also don't want to touch the rod. That's because like charges that are the same, so negative and negative or positive and positive, repel each other. And opposite charges, like positive and negative, attract each other. So what do you think would happen if I brought this piece of wool close to those balls? Oh, you see that? They're attracted to the wool. That's because the wool is positively charged and the balls are negatively charged. There's another way we can show this trick, and that's using some ordinary tape. So I'm going to take one piece of tape and I'm going to rub it, I'm going to stick it onto the table over here. I'm going to take another piece of tape, a little longer, and I'm going to stick it to the table as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip both pieces of tape up. And the same thing is going to happen as happened with the rod and the wool. The electrons are going to move from the table onto the piece of tape. So let's do one. And before I do that, I'm going to put this blue screen here so you can see what's happening. Let's put it this way. And I'm going to rip the other one off. Now, this piece of tape took electrons from the table. So what charge do you think it has? That's right, it's negatively charged. It has more electrons than protons. And the same for this piece of tape. So what do you think will happen when I bring them closer together? Wow, can you see they're repelling each other? They're pushing each other away. And that's because they both have the same type of charge. They were both negatively charged. Now, let's see what happens when I do the same experiment, but in this time, I put one tape on top of another tape. So that's one piece of tape, and then the second piece I'm going to put on top of the other piece. Alright. So, once again, I'm going to set up my back screen so we can see what's happening. Alright, I'm going to rip the first piece of tape off. So we know that takes electrons. And I rip the second piece. So let's see what happens when I bring them close together. Wow, they attracted this time. So why do you think that happened? Well, when we ripped off the first piece of tape, all the electrons it took, it didn't take electrons from the table, it took electrons from the other piece of tape. So that piece of tape now had very few electrons left, and so it was positively charged. And we know that negatively charged objects and positively charged objects attract each other.